guys, Youngblood with you, and today we're covering the history of another arms manufacturer. However, this time we're talking about smaller and more personal firearms by the company Kastak Arms. Now, you're probably most familiar with the energy shotgun known as the Devastator, which is available now in the Persistent universe, but the company's history has roots much further away than the Stanton system. And in much more dangerous space, the Vandal had recently captured the system of Virgil, and the nearby system of Vega was flooded with people that were trying to escape that conflict. And when they thought they had reached relative safety, it turned out that Vega was now on the front lines of the Vandal conflict. And fears rapidly escalated through this system that it was just going to be destined for another invasion. And based on that fear, we started to see the more affluent people kind of pack up and leave to get out of the system. But even on the more previously well-to-do planet of Selene, there was a large number of civilians that were unable to flee without the funds to enable them to do that. Now, the governors here saw a need to protect their citizens, and in order to do that, they ended up needing to kind of become more self-sufficient, which included creating their own arms manufacturer to arm the population with powerful weapons that anyone could afford. Now, the problem with this plan was that the Vandal invasion never ended up coming to Selene, and with a high availability of cheap weaponry, we saw a pretty steep increase in crime rate, which was mostly blamed on Kastak's weapons. Now, Kastak officially was founded in 2738 between the Governor's Council and private stakeholders with businesses they wanted to make sure remained protected on the planet of Selene. The name of the company actually pays homage to the reason for its creation, and Kastak was the first city in the Virgil system to be conquered by the Vandal invasion. Now, based on the bad publicity from the crime rate, the Governor's Council decided it was best to avoid keeping their names and reputations tied to the company, so they ended up planning to dissolve that company. However, Hiram Larcher stalled that decision to give the private partners time to put together a bid to take over the company altogether. And this plan turned out to be successful, and Larcher ended up resigning from the council and took the reins of the company as their CEO. Now, the market on Selene had basically become tapped, as everybody who was able to buy one really was able to get one. So in order to see the company really continue to grow, they knew they would need to branch out. And Larcher and Kastak took their products to Bremen and started this new ad campaign focused on projecting power and self-sufficiency. And the ad featured an attractive woman standing over a Vandal corpse with the tagline, "There's a reason the Vandal avoid Vega." And like anything with weapons, opponents started to pick and nitpick at their advertising and the potential consequences. And what ended up happening was it ended up getting a lot of coverage on the airwaves, which led to some huge amounts of free publicity for Kastak, which was directly responsible for a drastic sales increase all over civilized space, even though it was some pretty bad press. But then again, no press coverage is bad press coverage. So, with their newfound name recognition, Larcher decided it was time to branch out even further with their ad campaigns and their distribution channels. And while they could afford to advertise anywhere, a more focused approach seemed to make more sense for their goal. And instead of marketing to the well-to-do areas, they targeted lower-income areas and planets. Which means that basically, if you see an ad for Kastak Arms, you're probably in a bad neighborhood, and it should probably serve you well to keep your guard up. And like the pundits and activists before, now all of a sudden there were claims arising that Kastak was deliberately trying to spur up conflicts and take advantage of those who were already in bad situations. Now, Larcher, being remarkably consistent in his message, stated that people need to be able to afford guns. He said, "Look how much crime and violence they have to deal with. Do you know how dangerous it would be for them to go unarmed?" The message has always been about one thing, and about preparation and avoiding a fight by bringing the bigger stick to the fight. They also took advantage of the reputation and claims against them to forge this underdog image of a company, almost like a Robin Hood, if you will, trying to help out the poor. Though their weapons would also end up being associated with some crazier things, like empowering groups of activists who would also try to accomplish coups, overthrowing said governments. And a good example of this was on the planet of Locke, when the dictator Ariane Effendi was overthrown by Omar Astasio. And Astasio credited Kastak so much in their ability to accomplish this huge effort that he ended up sending Larcher the new flag of Locke, which now is framed in Kastak's corporate headquarters. They have gotten a little bit of good publicity, though, like when the police on Asura went on strike after they complained for ages about being outgunned and at a massive disadvantage compared to the criminals. Kastak stepped up, donated a bunch of weapons to the police force to help them improve their armories. And not only did that end up improving the situation on Asura, but it gave the company some much-needed good press. Overall, with quotes from larger like, "We don't care about being subtle, we care about being effective," and company imagery of conquering and dominating customers with taglines like "Protect your empire," and even the company logo, which is a fist coming at the viewer, Kastak has a very mixed imagery in the public opinion, but there's no denying their formula for success. So that's basically the history of Kastak Arms, a weapons manufacturer that you're likely going to be able to use as an early warning system to the type of area that you're in. If you have questions about any of this, please get them in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned for a whole lot more content. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.